It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy The Grind.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Grind Line here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, I'm joined in by my line mates, Devin Little and Evan Sabourin. Devin, how's it going? This past week hasn't been very fun watching Red Wings hockey, only one win, but how's it going this week?
It's going, yeah. Like you said, not a ton to cheer for if you're a Red Wings fan this week. Griffins have been playing well the last week, so that's cool. But really, other than that, yeah, kind of just trudging along through December, right? Yeah. How about you guys?
Evan, how's it going?
I've decided that I'm just going to use a metaphorical background for the Red Wings season. I'm literally putting the Red Wings season behind me. If you can tell, no, I'm not at Cedar Point, but yeah, it's been ups and downs, and it feels like this is the roughest patch we've been in for a while now here this past week. Hasn't been fun. The Dylan Larkin situation was really scary. No, we didn't talk about that. We'll get to that later, but not a good week for the Red Wings, and hoping things can pick up here soon.
Yeah, it's not been like I say, it hasn't been a very good week. We are recording a little later than our usual episode, but it's just given us more to talk about over this past week. Last two games, offense has kind of dried up. They didn't score against the Flyers, who are a surprisingly good season this year. And then the Hurricanes only scored one goal against two, so they've only had one goal in the past two games, so not the best. Offensively, and then before they were allowing a ton of goals as well. So, yeah, well, let's get right into it then. One good, one bad. Maybe we'll find a good in here. Evan, we'll go with you first. Good and a bad from this past week.
The good is, well, not that there was much this week, but the good is that captain seems to be okay. Dylan Larkin's health was, I immediately had feelings of when Yuri Fisher collapsed on the Red Wings bench. Well, it was over 20 years ago now, but it was just a really scary feeling and something I didn't really like at all. It was just very uncomfortable and really scared the shit out of me. And we talk about hockey and our love for the game, but most importantly is the captain's health. And he's had a really rough year, man, with the other things he had going on in his personal life. And so it's good to see that, to see positive results on the feedback he got from going into that protocol. But the bad is this team seems to be suffering from a boy band derangement syndrome. They can't get in sync. Offense is playing well, the defense isn't. When the defense and the goaltending are playing well, the offense disappears. Yeah. So this team has got to figure out a way to get in sync, because it's just the storyline is just, it's too far off from the other. And it's very frustrating to watch, especially Husso's played a good game last night, and he also had another good game this week. But then the offense is gone, So they've got to figure out to gel, to in sync. Tell me why. It's just, I don't know. That's my thoughts. I'm kind of losing my head right now.
Tell that. I'm here to tell that joke. Bye. Okay.
Oh, that's good. It's frustrating when you got bad goaltending, you're scoring a ton of goals, and then all of a sudden you get good goaltending and defense, and then you can't score. It's like you can't have both good, the best of both worlds, I guess. You can't. Devin, what good and the bad from this past week?
It kind of more or less more the same. It's kind of more astounding to me how much the Red Wings struggled to win low scoring games. A couple of years ago, that's the only type of game they could win. And now, they got shut out by the Flyers. I had to look back to verify this, but I'm fairly certain that they still have yet to win a game where they score 3 goals or less, and that's obnoxious.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you look at it in a big picture sense, that means they score a lot because they've won still a fair amount. But yeah, they need to figure out how to win low scoring games. That's playoff hockey.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of the bad. They still aren't playing playoff hockey. My one good, I'm gonna kind of repeat what I said off the top here. Griffins have looked pretty decent the last couple of games. I think that they've kind of been spinning their wheels to start this season, and that's been pretty disappointing. But maybe it's, maybe people are starting to get establish chemistry with each other. Maybe they're starting to figure out Dan Watson and his systems and whatnot. They're starting to put some good efforts on a consistent basis. They won a good game against the Texas Stars Friday night. They won 4-2 with Jonatan Berggren putting it away with an empty net goal. So it's good to see the kids down in Grand Rapids winning games when the guys up in Detroit are not.
Mhm. Yeah, well, there's the reason why we're recording late. Devin, you were at the game on Friday, so there you go. I got some good. Yeah, I mean, my good is I'm gonna echo that Larkin one. I was freaked out when you don't like seeing a guy laying on the ice for that long, not moving,
Mhm.
and it was scary to watch. And then you got all the other stuff that was happening right after that. We'll talk about that, but yeah, that's a good for me. I mean, you don't ever want to see a guy laying on the ice motionless, and you never know. It could be the worst thing ever, and you don't want to see that. So I'm glad that he's okay, and that it seems like he kind of avoided the worst. So yeah, good. Hopefully Larkin is back sooner rather than later, and we wish him his good health for the rest of the season as well. So. A good, I mean, that's a good. Bad, I mean, there's not much when you see getting scored on that much. You got like 15 goals in 3 games against. Yeah, that's not a good stat. And then it looks like you get turned around and then you can't score. And that's I hate stretches like that. You think that it's good, and then all of a sudden your offense goes away. So it's like, yeah, yeah, hopefully they can break out of that, maybe get the best of both worlds, like I said before, and hopefully sooner because the playoffs. Yes, they're in a playoff spot. They're in a very good spot this season still, even in this bad stretch. That can turn around really quick as other teams start figuring things out. And yeah, well, like we said last season, it happened. I mean, my gosh, it's funny because remember what I said? Oh, look what happened after this. We were saying how they're good stretch of how it's the same as last season. It's kind of looking the same again here. What they got on a 5-game losing streak. They are on well, only a 2 because they did win against the Blues. So they're not on that same one, but they only have a 1 win in the last 6. So
They're right here on the roller coaster, right here in the bottom where my fingers point in the corner there. That big ditch right there.
that's where we are. And we'll come
And
back.
they're not screaming, woo!
No,
They're screaming, get me off.
All right. Well, let's move on with the show now and talk about the newest signing of the Red Wings, of Patrick Kane. And you talk about that roller coaster. Kind of had a bit of one since he started with the Red Wings. He did score his first goal, which is awesome. But the Red Wings are 1-5-1 with him in the lineup. He only has 2 points. He's a -7. There was an article out on Daily Faceoff already saying the Red Wings should regret this signing. I don't know if we go that far, but Devin, what do you think about Patrick Kane? Do you buy it that he's a bad omen? This is a bad omen so far. I mean, it's not looking good, but it's very early, and he is coming off a really bad injury. Also, there's top 6 centers that have not been playing. JT Compher, I believe, just came back in the lineup.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's other extenuating circumstances as well. What do you think about Kane so far?
Yeah, I think you kind of just said it there. There's a lot of context that needs to be considered when we talk about how Patrick Kane has been and how the Red Wings have been with him in the lineup. Just in general, I think Kane's actually been about as expected. Anyone who's watched him over the last 2 years kind of knows what to expect from him. They know he's not, there to play defense. They know he's not exactly fleet of foot, and they know that you kind of just want to get him in opportunities where he can play offense and create plays and create opportunities, and then get him back on the bench. and that's kind of exactly what he's been. I think that for large stretches, he's looked like Patrick Kane, and that's exactly what you want him to look like. We obviously you can't underplay the fact that he's coming off of a very severe kind of uncharted surgery that we still haven't really seen anyone like fully come back from yet. And then there's also just the fact he's playing with new teammates, right? Yeah, there's some familiar faces around him. There's still, he's never played under Derek Lalonde before. He's never played with Darren Larkin before. You can go down the list. These are all new names for him. He's got to learn how they like their passes, where they're going to be when they've got space, right? They can't just stick them next to the brinket and just call it good. They have to, they have to be able to move them around the lineup, and that's what they've been doing lately. Would you like to see more than 2 points through 7 games? Sure, but again, I wasn't expecting him to come out and all of a sudden, be a point per game player. That's just not. I just don't think that was realistic. And clearly it's not, right? I don't think it's a bad omen. I think I think Larkin being gone is a really big one too. He's the top center, and even as good as Comfort's been, he's not a top center. And even when Comfort's not been in the lineup, that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
So you're missing 2 of your best players, and at least one of those players you'd think Kane would play with. So, to make general assumptions and draw general conclusions about Kane's impact on the Red Wings right now, I think is jumping the gun by quite a bit. And I think that we need, another month or 2 before we really have an idea of what this Patrick Kane experiment, what the result of this Patrick Kane experiment is going to be.
Yeah, you need more time. I mean, 7 games, very small sample size, and jumping inclusions this early. Yes, it's not been a good stretch here for the Red Wings, but like I said, there's been injuries, there's been other things that have happened around him that it's not all Kane's fault that he's not doing well. I wait, and I know 20 games is a big. I mean, that's one I always look, even for teams. 20 games is a good sample size to see where they are at, and we're way away from that. So we'll see what happens in the next bunch of games. Evan, what do you think about Kane performance since he's been signed?
I think he looks great. He looks better than I expected, and the daily faceoff can whatever. I don't blame him. I don't blame them. We work in the industry where views and clickbaiting and all that stuff, and I didn't even read the article because it's not worth my time. But Kane is, he's had some pretty good chances. He's hit a lot of posts. That one the other night where Pachekov fed it right to him, and it's But no, I think he looks good. Yeah, I think he looks good out there. Crisp passes. You can obviously see that there is a chemistry with DeBrincat that he doesn't. That's gonna really help us. I think he's fine. Give him some time. You mentioned he's a -7. Again, we've all talked about it. He's not gonna win a Norris Trophy for us. We don't care about the defense. He's here to Showtime is here to develop goals and give the Red Wings some points on the board. And I think he's going to be fine. I think so far, and I know you guys have been praying to the hip gods. So it's so far our prayers have been answered. But we need to get the real hockey gods to listen to get in touch with the hip gods, and got to get something going here because something's off. So Kane's fine. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I'm. Like I say, I'm going to wait for a bunch more games before I start making bad, these judgments that it's a bad signing and it's screwing up the Red Wings' chances this season. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on. So we'll hope that the Red Wings can turn it around and Kane will just be right along with them. All right, first off the rush, and I'm going to start this one off. And I saw an article on the HockeyWriters.com about this, and I want your thoughts on it. I'll start with you, Evan. There was an article about the Montreal Canadiens going after Jonatan Berggren. Now, I mean, we have talked about potentially trades that the Red Wings have, could make. Do you think that should be one of them? Is trading Berggren?
Well, that's a tough one because you can see that this kid has talent. Now, what is his ceiling? I'm still not sure that. 23 years old, you should be starting to see, and he comes in and he scores timely goals. He's offensively talented. It's hard right now with this lineup for him to get a spot. I like the kid. I think he's a good player. I wish we could have saw him play in that Sweden series too.
Yeah.
But it's a numbers game right now. And it happens all the time in the league, and if there's an opportunity somewhere else and there's a right fit in a trade, I don't know what we're getting from Montreal in a trade like that. I would, I'm not sure what they would want for that, but I think he's a legitimate asset. And I would, if I was another team, I would, and looking to add some offensive prowess, he's a guy I'd be interested in because he's still young, he's affordable, and he has the pedigree. So I don't really feel one way or the other about him. I don't think he's gonna make or break this team. But if he's not getting the opportunities, it may be time to look elsewhere. And if we can add an asset, whether it be third or fourth round pick, maybe that's it. So I don't want to see him move, but I'm not going to be broken up if he is.
Devin, what do you think? I know you've been on the Jonatan Berggren hype train ever since he was drafted and with the Griffins and all that, and in Sweden. What do you think about potential Berggren move?
At some point, I think you have to seriously consider it because if he's going to be blocked out, you're kind of doing a disservice to him, right? I still think that there's definitely room for him on this team, whether it's probably going to be down the line, right? Maybe they have to move someone out another deal, maybe whatever. Because there's talent there, and you see it in his little brief stint he just had in Detroit. I think he had 2 goals and an assist or something like that. He definitely had 2 goals. So he can make an impact, and it's just about consistency for him. That's kind of what they kind of keep coming back to for him, and what he needs to work on is his consistency. But if we were going to send every player on the Red Wings roster that had trouble with consistency down to Grand Rapids, they'd have like 3 or 4 players left. So I don't know if I buy that necessarily. I just think it's easy to put him down because they'd have to put him through waivers. At some point, I think you have to consider it for his sake. And also, I still think he has value. So you can package him with something else to maybe get a bigger piece to help the playoff push.
I don't want to see Berggren moved. I think he has a lot of potential in the NHL. But like you said, Evan, it's the opportunity. Does he have the opportunity in this organization to fulfill that potential? Because he's going to have to play in that top 9 at least, and hopefully get power play time and all that because he's an offensive player. So you want him to get all those opportunities. Can he get it in Detroit is the question. So, I mean, we'll see. But I just saw that as something, and I'm like, this is the first time I've heard Berggren being mentioned for another team going after him. So just thought, get your thoughts on that one. All right, let's pay the bills and remind you of our Hockey Writers Substack that we've got here, and we've got a new thing. I mean, there's the free one. You can get Red Wings articles throughout the week, 3 times a week. You can also have the premium option, which we've transitioned to all the teams. I mean, with one subscription, you're able to get access to all the premium content throughout all the teams on the Hockey Writers, including history. We got the prospects, and which is going to ramp up really quickly here with premium stuff with the draft and the World Juniors and all that. So you get access to that as well through one annual subscription or a monthly subscription. But take a look in the description below for details on subscribing. All right. Well, let's move on and talk about that Dylan Larkin, David Perron thing that happened in the Ottawa Senators game, which is admittedly quite a while ago now. But, Perron was suspended for what he did. I just wanted your thoughts on it. Devin, do you agree with how it all was handled, what the NHL handed out suspension-wise to David Perron? All the other stuff that happened. There was a big crazy stuff. There was a lot of stuff that happened after that game. What do you think of it all?
It's such a tricky thing, right? It's a very it's a situation that it's hard not to get emotional about, even just on a human level, right? You don't even have to be a Red Wings fan to see Dylan Larkin go down like that and like have a reaction to it. I as much as I'm kind of a token young kid around here, I still very much grew up in a time where like if your captain goes down, you stand up for him. And so on some level, I respect what David Perron did, but he went after the wrong guy first and
Yeah.
foremost. Zub didn't do anything, so like that wasn't good. And then also, let's face it, he did like jump him.
Yeah.
There's like shades of Todd Bertuzzi there, and that's you never want to go down that route. So yeah, I do agree David Perron should have been punished. Um, I think that when all is said and done, he might get some salary back. I think he'll serve all 6 games. I think he might get some money back, and he'll have an official like 4-game suspension for it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean he definitely deserved his punishment. You can't jump a guy. It's quite as simple as that. But I also think that what happened to Larkin, for it to basically for all intents and purposes for it to go unpunished. Matthew Joseph got what, a 2-minute penalty, and then he had to fight Christian Fischer later.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think he got off pretty easy. Especially when there's history too, right? Like he's gone after Larkin's neck before. And also, just quick sidebar, it genuinely seems like every time Larkin takes a hit, it's up here.
Mm.
Like I don't think that dude gets hit in the back. I don't think he gets hit in the legs. I think everybody hits his head. And
Mm.
I don't know what needs to be done to stop it, but it needs to be stopped because sooner or later he's not going to be able to play hockey anymore. And he's 27 years old. He's still got a long career ahead of him, and that's a terrible thing to think about. And we know what happened, with him and his wife just, a month ago or so. For that to happen to him shortly thereafter, I can't. I'm getting emotional now. Yeah, so no, I agree with how Perron's thing was handled. I agree that he should have done so. I agree that the Red Wings should have done something about their captain being treated like that. Um, but I don't agree that Matthew Joseph kind of just got to play the next game and like it didn't happen. So when the Red Wings play the Senators next, I'm expecting some fireworks. I'm if you kind of wanted to know what the Red Wings Avalanche rivalry was like, back in the 90s, what it would have been like on social media if social media was a thing back then. I think we're seeing it now between Red Wings and Senators fans of all freaking teams. There's some real animosity there now. And when a playoff series does happen between these two teams, I think it's going to be brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a definite rivalry going on. I mean, it's not just started in that game. It's gone on. So playoffs would be a pretty good. I'd say they say rivalries are born in the playoffs. I think it's already been born. But playoff hockey between these two teams would definitely be a bit maybe fun to watch and also brutal to watch maybe at the same time. But yeah. Evan, what do you think? I know you mentioned at the beginning of the show, but what do you think about how all this was handled with the Perron Larkin stuff?
Well, first, I want to preface it by saying I was a little confused as to why Clint Costin wasn't in the lineup for that game. He's literally our toughest guy, and after what we saw last year in those back-to-back games where we kind of got manhandled in Ottawa, I thought that's a guy I want in my lineup. What David Perron did was, it's like Devin said, I have no problem with it. I wish he would have got the right guy.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's going through there in those moments of seeing your captain down and unconscious. Like, yeah, go hit somebody.
Yeah.
Hit the right guy though. Hit the right guy. And he definitely deserves a suspension. I have no problem with him sticking up for Larkin. That's something we need. And Christian Fischer is earned a lifetime of respect for me for getting in there and doing something about it in the third there. But it was hard to see. It was tough to watch, and it's kind of feels like that game was the start of the down the roller coaster part. This week was brutal. This team's going to go as their captain goes, and you can see it clear as day. Very frightening experience, but I'm very glad that he's okay. I think that's the biggest thing we can be grateful for at this point. I think he'll be back soon. I think we'll see him in the next week here or so. They haven't announced when he's coming back yet. It's still indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those situations aren't fun. But again, now you can start to see a rivalry brewing. We expected Ottawa to be a lot better this season, and I'm actually really disappointed with the young talent that team has accumulated over the years. When you consider Stützle and Sanderson and Norris and Giroux, and it's kind of painful to see how bad they are, because this is a team that's kind of on the same timeline as the Red Wings are as far as being a competitive team, and it's this is there's something brewing here, and I think the next game is going to be really interesting to watch. You remember those days back in Bob Probert days and Troy Crowder days, and there's not really fight nights like there used to be back in hockey, but something might be brewing here, and hopefully they keep Kostin in the lineup for the next Ottawa game, because if things are going to get messy, then that's the guy I want in there.
Yeah.
Quick thing, real quick. Yeah. Two things. One, Kostin was not in the lineup because he was sick.
Yeah.
So that is why.
Okay.
Just illness, but he backed out. And then the other thing, like just to kind of highlight this, or just to really emphasize this real quick, Perron going after Zub after Joseph did what he did to Larkin is like if after Claude Lemieux did what he did to Chris Draper, Aaron McCarty jumped Adam Deadmarsh. Like you're kind of missing the guy. That's not A for effort, but no, get that guy.
Yeah.
That's all. Just wanted to just get that out there.
Well, their next matchup is January 31st. And that is in Detroit. So and that, yeah, I think we'll be looking forward to that one. But yeah, it's tough to see, and I'm hoping that Larkin will be back in the lineup at that point, because that's over a month away, a month and a half away. So I'm hoping that he'll be back by then. And yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to some holiday theme here and talk about Red Wings wish list. And there's been a lot of these going on to hockeywriters.com. So let's do one of our own. Start with you, Evan. What should be on the Red Wings wish list this year?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. Let Devin go first, because I've got some more stuff to play with here for us. So Devin, why don't you go first on that one? What's your wish list?
Interesting. My wish list item for the Red Wings is honestly just kind of harken back to my point at the top of the show. For the Red Wings to figure out how to win low-scoring games.
Yeah.
Once we kind of get into the new calendar year and the playoffs, the playoff chase really becomes amplified and magnified and all that good stuff. Teams are going to start playing playoff hockey, especially the teams that have been there and done that before. And you can't expect to win games 5-4 anymore. You can't. It's just not how those games are played. So you've got to figure out how to win 3-2, 2-1, even get some shutouts in there. You're gonna need some goaltending to get there, but that's a whole other topic. So if they can figure out how to, protect their leads and win those low-scoring games, I think they'll be in really good shape heading into the playoff chase. But until they prove they can do that, they're just going to be a gunslinging team that can't quite do it. They're going to be the Buffalo Sabres from last season, basically.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mine is, and I can already see what Evan has in store. So there you go. Go for it.
This is my wish list. I think it's the majority of Red Wings wish list at this point. I can't see why he's not here. I just can't. And you consider the defensive breakdowns that we've had in these past couple of weeks, the odd man rushes. This is the exact type of player you need, the big body and a long stick. And it's past time. Every Red Wings podcast I listen to, obviously this one's the best, but the other ones I listen to too, they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Come on. What are we doing here?
Good one. Yes.
And this guy's on a heater in Grand Rapids right now. What's the problem? What's the problem? Let's go. So,
If it's about
that's my wish list. This handsome Swedish beast here. I want him in the lineup.
If it's about waiting until they're NHL ready, I think Simon's more than NHL ready. So let's.
And you saw him firsthand this weekend, so you know it. We know it. Let's go.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We said this many times throughout this show that Edvinsson should be in the lineup, and we'll see. What was our predictions again, Evan, of when his call-up will come?
You guys wrote this down? I forgot to write this down. I'll have to
Go
go back
back.
to last week.
I didn't know there was gonna be
So
a pop quiz, Matt.
I'll make a background that has all our predictions, so we never
There you go. There you
got
go.
little Simon Edvinson faces all over, like little.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, my wish list is that they can find some consistency in both offense and defense. Because yeah, like you said, Devin, they need to start winning some low scoring games or just have consistency in that they can score goals and defend. I mean, there is a chance you can have best of both worlds. Teams have it. That's why they're at the top of the league all the time. They can do both. So you got to be able to win several different games, and especially in the playoffs. I mean, in the playoffs, those sometimes those high scoring games, but you got to know how to win all of them. So, hopefully, I can get some consistency there. So that's my wish list. But I will also echo Edmondson being on that too. That's definitely one of them. All right, any of you guys got an off the rush question to finish us off here?
Got this text message this morning from one of my buddies back home in Detroit, and he said, would you take a gamble on Antti Raanta if he is on waivers right now? And it's one I'm kind of like, I don't know. I mean, we've talked so much about how bad the goaltending's been this season. Husso looked a little better this week, and now Alex Lyon's apparently injured. I don't know what the timeline on his return is, but would you take a flyer on a guy like that?
You know, it's kind of funny because I feel like this kind of goes into the classic beggars can't be choosers type of thing. Um, because yeah, we've beaten it to death at this point that the Ravens goaltending is not good enough. But I don't know if Ranta is the one I'm like gonna pick and be like he's gonna fix it. Um, in a perfect world, you could like pick him up for almost like an item at the supermarket where you could pick it up, try it out for a week, and then return it if you don't like it. I was like, that's what I want to do with Antti Raanta. See if he fits, and then if you don't, just send him. Which I mean, I guess the NHL equivalent of that would be to like pick him up and then waive him if you don't like him again. But if he goes unclaimed, then you got to put him in Grand Rapids, and that's a whole other thing. So, um, I guess my answer is no, but like also they got to do something. So I guess if it was Ranta, at least they're not just sitting on their hands, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the same thing. It's like he hasn't had a good season at all.
No.
And this is a Hurricanes team that's usually really good defensively, although they haven't been this season either. So it's like he hasn't had the same structure in front of him as he used to. So I mean, it's kind of tough. His numbers don't look good. I mean, but trying him out, hopefully, you could do it and try him out, but a lot of teams are going to look at that. The Oilers are another one that's saying, well, maybe pick him up, see how he goes. I'm not really sure Rant is the answer. I mean, he's been good in the past, but again, the Hurricanes are the reason their goaltenders look really good because their structure is usually really good in front of them. So, yeah, I wouldn't take him right now. I don't know if he's much of an answer.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too, but
good one. So yeah, Devin, you've got a quick question or
I do have a quick one. Hopefully I don't put you guys on the spot too much here. Quick question is we've obviously seen a lot of new faces come through Detroit over the last couple of years, but we've also seen a lot of faces go in that time. So of all the players that have left the Red Wings over the last couple of years, who is one player that you wish was still on the team right now?
Oh,
whoever wants to go first can go first.
that's used there. I gotta think. My brain's not ready for that.
I'm trying to think of who's gone.
Turns out
that's a tricky one.
I always liked Thomas Tatar. I always thought he was
good. Yeah.
I thought he was a good third line winger, but man, he just moves around. And I also used to read and hear a lot of stories about his he was a party animal antics. And he really flamed out in Vegas really quickly. He's been passed around the league, but I always liked Tatar. Yeah, I thought he was fun. He could be flashy at times, and I loved him in a bottom six role. But that would probably be mine.
Well,
But
I got one. And I'm happy he's not with the Red Wings anymore, but Phil Peronic.
There
Because he's
you
in
go.
Vancouver now and he's
There you go.
doing phenomenal with Quinn Hughes. But he never had that type of partner. Well, he did have Moritz Seider, who did play pretty well with, I think. But I think, and it's funny because they could have had Quinn Hughes and Philip Hronik.
and Evan Bouchard.
Yeah, there's so many.
Let's be
So I'll say Hronik because I think he would still be helping out this team, even not playing with Quinn Hughes.
Real quick, I'll throw out my pick. It's going to be Tyler Bertuzzi, only because of that Dylan Larkin incident, because Bertuzzi would have been the first one to jump on a Senator
Yeah.
as soon as he saw Larkin go down.
Yep.
Yeah,
You're-
yeah,
I probably would, if I could change my answer, I'd probably go back to that.
yeah.
There's something about Tuna Tatar that I don't know, I found fascinating.
Yeah, no, he was good for sure. All right, well, hopefully a better week is coming before Christmas. There's a few games before, I believe how many we got. Got a couple actually. Went 4 games before Christmas. Hopefully there's a winning record in there, and we'll have an episode before Christmas. And but
Hopefully we're up here on the roller coaster when we next
Yeah.
meet, guys. I want to be like right there at the top.
yeah.
But just about not going down. I want it going up. So
Yeah. We'll see where we are on the roller coaster at that time. But thanks, Evan. Thanks, Devin, for joining Grindline again. Make sure to check out all the articles at hockeywriters.com, our Substack, which has gotten a bit of a facelift, but check that out. There's a lot of great stuff going on there. Link below. And but until next time, we'll see you on another episode of The Grindline.
Merry Christmas, all.